Hello, I'm Emma, and something is knocking on the wall of my dorm room. Cleaning blood off any surface is harder than you'd expect. It clings to your fingernails before you realize it, and the stench lingers heavily in the air filling the room. I remember being in shock the morning after all of this happened. Before dive in this story, let me know. Have you ever met a strange neighbor? Let me know, and I will read it in the next video. Now let's continue. I methodically scrubbed the floor and walls until everything was clean, and it was disturbingly easy. Regular bleach and dish soap worked perfectly fine. However, I had to throw the bed sheets in the trash because they couldn't be cleaned. In the end, I sat alone in my spotless bedroom, surrounded by a pile of blood-soaked rags, trying to make sense of what I had seen the night before. Anyway, I got caught up in something truly horrific. I met my freshman college roommate for the first time the weekend before classes started. We found each other on Instagram. I'm Emma, and her name was Gemma. That's pretty cool, right? We were both majoring in math and reading the same book. So I thought I'd take the chance instead of hoping for something random. It's logical to choose someone with similar interests as a roommate. It's less likely to end in disaster. Gemma was half a head taller than me, with delicate features and perfect blonde hair cascading down her back in waves. She had a cold aura with a sullen face that at first glance made her seem furious. But when she smiled, it made her face more approachable. Everything about her made me jealous and a bit insecure. I wished I could carry the same charisma as Gemma. The first week of classes passed without incident. I tried to shed my shyness, talking to as many people as possible, and futilely attempting to remember all their names. Gemma and I didn't spend much time together, but we still hung out and watched TV in the evenings. At first, being away from home felt strange, but I got used to the routine, feeling comfortable wrapping myself in blankets and drifting off to sleep at the end of each day. Conversations from the hallway filtered through the thin walls late into the night, but I was tired enough that it didn't bother me. My bed was placed in the corner of the room, and the presence of the wall right beside it gave me an oddly comforting sense of security, at least until Saturday. I think I was being pulled into the vortex of something terrible. A few nights earlier, Gemma had come back later than me, and she'd stay quiet when entering the room. I got back first and crawled into bed. A few minutes later, I heard her come in. I tossed and turned while she fell asleep, her breathing steady and rhythmic. That's when I heard it, a knock coming from the other side of the wall, a few feet above my head. I startled, turning to see if Gemma had heard it. She was still fast asleep. Maybe the sound was too faint to be heard from anywhere else in the room. The sound came again, 2 distinct knocks. Knock, knock. It sent a chill down my spine, and I curled up in my pillow, wondering if I should check the peephole. Maybe it was someone I knew, but the knocking was clearly on the wall, not the door. I was certain of it, and there were no more voices in the hallway. Eventually, the day's exhaustion overtook me. I woke up with the blanket wrapped around me, sweat sticking to my shirt, and a lingering sense of unease I couldn't pinpoint. The knocking felt like a hazy dream, and I didn't believe it was real until I heard it again the next night. Knock, knock. I lay completely still, but Gemma's steady breathing brought me back to reality. The night before, I had brushed it off, thinking my mind was conjuring things, but the knocking continued, repeating itself. Knock, 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 knock. I was fed up. I threw off the blanket and went to the door, looking through the peephole. There was no one outside. The knocking was fainter when I wasn't near the wall, but I could still hear it. Maybe someone was just out of the peephole's narrow view. As soon as the door creaked open, the sound stopped. I poked my head out, looking into the vast expanse of the hallway. It was completely empty. I gave up and went back to bed. The sound started again, immediately moving down the wall until it was right by my head. I stuffed all my pillows between me and the wall covered. My ears curled into a ball and lay there until sleep overtook me. When this kept happening, I tried bringing it up with Gemma. I keep hearing knocking on the wall at night. I hesitantly mentioned one afternoon. She gave me a strange look. That's weird, Gemma said. I haven't heard anything like that. I didn't know what else to do, so I nodded awkwardly and mumbled to move on. We got along well, but we weren't close enough for me to ask to switch beds for a night or anything like that. One night, when the knocking was so loud I couldn't sleep, I tried waking her. As I tiptoed toward her side of the room to avoid tripping in the dark, I could still hear the sound, though it was fainter. "Hey," I whispered, "do you hear that?" She opened her eyes groggily, staring at me, trying to focus. After a moment, she shook her head. "I don't hear anything. Don't bother me again." She pulled the blanket over her head and turned away. I cursed under my breath, convinced the knocking had deliberately stopped the moment I mentioned it. I felt guilty the next morning, so I tried to make sure Gemma wasn't upset about the night before. "Sorry about last night," I said awkwardly. "I hope I didn't mess up your sleep." "It's fine." Gemma shrugged, but I didn't hear anything. Time passed quickly, and before I knew it, half the semester was over. The knocking continued every night, though by this point it had become routine. I tried to calm my racing thoughts that something would jump out and attack me. Even if there was a monster on the other side, Gemma was intimidating enough that it might be scared off before it could strike. I laughed to myself about that, wishing it were just a joke. I felt uneasy, like I was in a cold war. Gemma talked to me less and less and stopped smiling entirely. I didn't know what I'd done wrong. Once I asked her how her day was, and Gemma ignored me, leaving the room a few minutes later while muttering something. We started avoiding each other, and I tensed up every time she walked in, brusque and angry, with her lips always pursed. The hostility filled the air, though she never did anything to scare me. It was just painfully awkward. She acted like I didn't exist, turning on the TV before I woke up, nearly jolting me out of bed with the noise. She also played music loud enough to be heard through the door and half the hallway. Gemma's cold demeanor made me anxious to be in the room, but I didn't have any friends close enough to crash with every night. I tried convincing myself I was overreacting. She was just a normal person, and all this cold hostility was just making my college experience slightly uncomfortable. Through all this, the knocking persisted every night. Finally, I was fed up and tried investigating. Someone was knocking on the wall and disappearing whenever I checked the peephole. It was always empty, and there were no footsteps. I had a horrifying thought that something might be in the wall, but I pushed it out of my mind. The wall was only a few inches thick. There was no way anything living could fit inside it. That same day, as I was getting ready for bed, Gemma opened the wardrobe door and slammed it into my face. It hit my nose, and I screamed pain throbbing around my eyes and forehead. She kept doing her thing like nothing happened without a single apology. I was so frustrated I yelled at her. Even so, when she didn't come back to the room one night, I felt lonelier than ever, sad and depressed enough to do something reckless. I knocked back. When the knocking started, I reached up to the wall and tapped lightly, creating an echoing sound. The knocking stopped abruptly, and there was complete silence for a second before it sped up so fast it seemed like something was agitated. I woke up the next morning with flickering, vague images in my stream. Dreams of being trapped in a dark void, countless limbs wrapping around me and pulling me deeper into endless darkness. I was terrified that somehow I had opened a door, and whatever was inside that wall knew I was on the other side, soft and vulnerable. I didn't see Gemma often anymore. Usually we'd cross paths a few times in the late afternoon or evening, but now I'd be surprised to see her in the room before bed. Whenever she came in, she was brusque, often angry, and her attitude made my heart race. Final exams were approaching quickly, and I tried reaching out to everyone I'd met over the past few weeks, hoping I could shake off the anxiety and finish the semester smoothly. I had to keep reminding myself every night that there was no reason to be afraid. My thoughts swirled through different lines of reasoning. Often I'd respond to whatever was on the other side of the wall, like it was a friend, only to get indecipherable knocks in return. If something horrific was living inside the wall, I hoped it would come for Gemma before me. I still felt guilty about that thought. Fast forward to last week, when it all came to a head. I woke up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, my hair sticking uncomfortably to my shirt. Beside me, the knocking was louder than ever. This was strange, because it usually went quiet if I startled awake in the middle of the night. I glanced at the bedside table, fumbling for my glasses for a moment, before giving up and squinting at the clock. 3:03 a.m. I looked up. Gemma was standing there, a knife pointed straight at my chest. Her lips curled into a smile or a grimace. It was too blurry for me to tell. I screamed and rolled out of bed. The blade grazed the edge of my shirt, slicing into my shoulder. I couldn't see the wound clearly, but warmth slowly trickled down. Adrenaline dulled the pain. Gemma lunged at me again. I dodged, crashing into the bed frame and stumbling to my feet. I ran to the door, fumbling to flip the light switch, but she grabbed the back of my shirt and threw me against the wall. I gasped, saying something like, "Why are you doing this? What's wrong with you?" She didn't bother responding, charging at me and stabbing the knife toward me. I flailed, twisting the doorknob, and dove into the closet, holding the door shut with all my strength. The frame rattled as Gemma tried to wrench it open, and I could only watch in terror as the hopeless struggle tipped in her favor. I let go, planning to swing the door open and shove her hard, but Gemma must have anticipated it. She stabbed the knife into my side as I bolted into the room and yanked it back out. I clutched my waist, trying to stop the bleeding as my side burned with excruciating pain. The pain finally overpowered the endorphins. Gemma's movements were erratic, and she swung the knife in wild arcs through the air. I saw an opening and punched her straight in the stomach. There was a clatter as the knife fell to the floor. I kicked it away, intending to run to the door and scream for help while she was distracted. It didn't work. Gemma was taller and stronger than me, and I regretted lazing in bed all semester instead of working out. Her hands wrapped around my throat and started squeezing. I flailed, slapping at her chest and face, but it didn't make her let go. Spots blurred my vision. The rest is a haze to me. Somehow, I could still hear the knocking. That didn't make sense when my life was being torn from my lungs. The knocking was too loud, impossibly so. A horrific noise erupted, a massive, overwhelming tear. A whirlwind of limbs, eyes, and teeth burst from the wall, yanking Gemma off me like she was a piece of paper. I couldn't comprehend what I was seeing. It was taller than the room, bending at strange angles, with too many arms wrapping around her thrashing body. bright spots that might have been eyes and jagged seams, lined with protruding teeth, ran from head to toe. It tore her apart. A streak of crimson blood splattered onto the floor. The creature retreated into the wall, dragging her inside, leaving me stunned and frozen on the floor. I sat there for hours, motionless, until exhaustion overtook me and I collapsed. I woke up a few hours later and noticed the wall was still intact, with no sign that some inexplicable creature had resided within it. Luckily, I wasn't bleeding, and the jagged wounds across my body had somehow mostly clotted. I cleaned up the blood and took a shower, starting my day in a dazed, disoriented state. The knocking was still there for the next few nights, though it was gentler. "Are you still there?" it seemed to ask. At first, I was too terrified to respond, but the last night I slept in that room, I gave in and knocked twice. Thank you. I hope it understood. My request to change rooms was approved for the next semester, which made me feel immensely relieved. The police finally came after finals. Gemma's absence from all her exams was suspicious enough to declare her missing. I denied seeing her, and they didn't ask further. I still don't know what that creature was or where it came from. Maybe it's still there. Maybe there are more countless inhuman creatures lurking in the spaces between, listening for a friendly voice. Or maybe it was all random and I'm just as likely to be taken as she was. Either way, I'm praying my mind is playing tricks on me. It's been 2 weeks since this semester started, and I swear I heard that knocking again last night. The problem is, my new room is a single. Wish me luck.
Thanks for watching this video. If you like this video, drop a comment below. And please like, share and subscribe my channel.